Hello and welcome to PowerBuilder TV. In this webinar, we will look at Appeon 2015 and beyond. Today's presenter, Armin Mazda, is CEO and President of Appeon Corporation. Armin has worked with PowerBuilder technologies since 2000 and has served various roles in Appeon, including product management, business development, and operations. Armin is a graduate of the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley and holds 5 U.S. patents in the area of rich internet application technologies. Welcome, Armin.
Hi, Liz. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be talking to you today about Appeon. Appeon this year in 2015, and what we have in store for you at the end of this year around Christmas time, and Appeon in the future beyond 2015, kind of what the future holds. Some of you may have heard some exciting announcements from the Charlotte conference in May, and I'll be giving you a brief recap of that as well. So before we begin, I do want to just give a quick recap of what Appeon is, our flagship product called Appeon for PowerBuilder, because there may be some people joining today's call that may not be familiar firsthand with Appeon. They may just know the gist of it. But we will spend most of today's sessions focusing on what's new in 2015 and what's coming in the future. So it won't be a lot focused on the past. So Appeon for PowerBuilder is a solution that allows you to take PowerBuilder and really move it into a more modern architecture and platform. There's a lot of powerful applications that are mission critical developed with PowerBuilder, and what Appeon is about is allowing these apps to coexist and integrate in a modern world with cloud technology, with Java and .NET technology, with web technology, mobile technology, and so on. And this is our IT landscape today. And so Appeon helps you to do that. And it allows you to do that without really having to invest in retraining your team, rewriting your PowerBuilder applications from scratch. You don't need to do any of that. It's the fastest, lowest cost, and easiest way to take your PowerBuilder application and really move it into this architecture. So you'll be able to take existing PowerBuilder code or build new PowerBuilder apps. And with Appeon, instead of clicking the compile and getting an exe, you're going to get a web app that runs on the Windows OS, in Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Chrome. And you'll also be able to produce native mobile apps, not HTML. These are native. They're compiled apps using C++ technology, so they're high performance and can take advantage of all these mobile-specific features. Today we support the 2 leading mobile OS, iOS and Android, both phone and tablet formats. And we have our eyes on Windows Mobile to see where Microsoft's going to take it and whether it's really going to get adoption. If it does, tentatively we have it planned for some time in the future when we see that Windows Mobile is getting enough adoption. On the back end, you can take your PowerBuilder applications and have it running on any number of open source or commercial Java application servers, as well as you can run on .NET Framework 4.5 with Microsoft IIS and take advantage of all the goodies .NET has to offer, from WCF services, .NET assemblies, and so on. And if you want to move it to the cloud and you're on SQL Server, you can go to SQL Azure and Windows Azure. If you're not on that, and you can go to Amazon or anything you like. Really, the choices are unlimited. So that's what Appeon is, and there's other ways to modernize your PowerBuilder investments. You can use Citrix, and that simplifies the deployment of your application. You can obviously rewrite your application, but in a lot of times it doesn't make sense. You have a PowerBuilder app that's working perfectly fine. There's millions of projects and things and priorities, and why not take advantage of Appeon and PowerBuilder and move this forward in the lowest cost and lowest risk way possible. So with Appeon, it's going to preserve the user interface of your PowerBuilder application on the web, on mobile device, and it's going to then make it very easy for your users to accept it. There won't need to be much of a retraining and so on. In terms of PowerBuilder functionality, there's going to be some features that maybe are not supported, but we have seen many complex applications with gigabytes of source code converted by Appeon, and sure, there's some features you might have to work around, but in general, I haven't gotten the feedback that our features are just severely limited or anything like that. So we're very close to what PowerBuilder can do, and so from that perspective, you're not going to have to rewrite tons of code or lose tons of functionality. It's almost going to deliver what you would get from a PowerBuilder client-server app, but compared to an HTML rewrite, obviously there's a huge difference. With HTML, you're not going to have all of those rich interactions that you get with PowerBuilder. Now, because we're a native mobile app and because on the web we do use a browser plugin, we can do the same client-side integration as what PowerBuilder does. If you have an OCX, OA control, so on, you can take advantage of that. Citrix, even though it's a plugin architecture, it's not HTML, you're running the application on the server side. So you can integrate with server-side OCX and OAs, and sometimes you may not want to do that. The user may have Microsoft Word on their PC, and you need to integrate with that. So there's some limitations on the client-side integration. Obviously, HTML, there's no plugin. You're in the HTML sandbox. You really can't do much on the client side. Server side, again, Appeon offers pretty much, a really good balance of, going beyond what client-server does. With Citrix, you're limited to what PowerBuilder will be able to do, such as just simply calling web services, whereas with Appeon, you could natively call Java objects, .NET assemblies, and not have to necessarily go through a web service interface. And with HTML rewrite, obviously, you can also do all those same things. There are some differences in how you call a Java object or a .NET assembly than how you might do it in an ASP.NET page or a JSP page. So that's why, we mark Appeon one circle lower. But in general, you can do all sorts of server-side integration. Now, in terms of mobile feature support, this is where Appeon really shines too. You can actually go above and beyond what the features that PowerBuilder provides. You can, on the mobile device, use the camera, scan a barcode, for example, use GPS maps. I'll be showing you today some really cool things you can do on the mobile device. For example, NFC, near-field communications. And those are things that you cannot do in PowerBuilder, you cannot do in Citrix. And if you were to rewrite your application as a pure HTML5 app, you're not going to be able to do all of those things either. You're going to have an HTML app in a browser and not taking advantage of the full power of the mobile device. Now, the mobile devices have so many APIs and SDK. There's so many things you can do. With Appeon, we were able to support them. It's just we haven't gotten around to integrate all of them into Appeon. So that's why we're not 100%. But it's not a technology reason. It's purely a time issue of getting around to doing that. Scalability, just like HTML, you have Java or .NET server, N-tier architecture. Appeon is pretty much stateless on the server side, so it's really scalable, doesn't consume a lot of server-side memory. And you're going to get really good scalability. Citrix, not so much. And that's one of the key reasons why people switch from Citrix to Appeon or an HTML rewrite. And in terms of time savings, with Citrix, it's a publishing solution. You're going to be up and running in no time. But with Appeon, you're going to have to maybe rework some of those incompatible code. Just like if you migrate from an older version of PowerBuilder to a newer one, sometimes there's some things that are obsolete or changed. So, so there's going to be a little bit of rework. But generally, depending on the size of your app and how many developers you put on it, it's a few weeks or a few months typically. So it's not this massive undertaking. And whereas, one of the reasons why PowerBuilder is so prevalent today is because going to HTML has a lot of trade-offs, not just on the functionality and features I mentioned, but also in terms of just effort and cost. So that's just in a nutshell, kind of lay out some options. These are the three proven ways You might hear about XYZ has such an automatic converter. That's all BS, frankly. These are the 3 proven ways that tons of people have successfully gone. And if you're considering how to move your PowerBuilder apps forward, it should be one of these 3 options only. So with Appeon, you're going to develop one time in PowerBuilder. You're going to have an application. It could be a legacy application, which is what I'm going to demo right now, and then we'll move on to looking at modern things. But you could, of course, build anything new in PowerBuilder, and you can have one set of code that goes from a desktop client-server app running in the web browser, and you can see that the user interface is not changed. It's exactly preserved, but you're getting the benefits of browser deployment, cloud deployment on the server side, HTTP technology, and so on. And you'll be able to take that same app and run it on a tablet. If the app was designed for a desktop, then obviously you wouldn't want to run it on the phone. And you can configure that in Appeon and say, I want the app only to run on a tablet, a screen size of 7 inches or larger. And so here you can see that if you're on a tablet, a lot of tablets like the iPad are 9 inches or 10 inches like the Samsung Galaxy 10. So, with a 10-inch size screen, you can pretty much do whatever you would do in a PowerBuilder desktop app. You have enough real estate, unless you really crammed 80 data windows, across 30 tabs. Unless you've done some type of app like that, you can take something that was designed for a regular PC, and it's also now available on different OSs and on the different form factor. And of course, you could use PowerBuilder and build something for mobile that's completely from the ground up, designed for mobile, and maybe designed for a phone, which would be a different, UI layout. So I'll be showing you that as well. So in terms of new features now, we're moving forward. Now that you understand what Appeon is, for those of you that are new to Appeon, for those of you that now understand Appeon, let's talk about what's new this year. We released a version early this year that included a maintenance release. So Appeon for 2015 is now very stable. It's gone through a round of VBF. You're definitely not going to be guinea pigs. I encourage all of you, if you're not already on Appeon 2015, you should upgrade to take advantage of these benefits. On the platform side, you're going to get PowerBuilder 12.6 compatibility. Usually Appeon can work with newer versions of PowerBuilder, but in 12.6 there were some major changes made under the hood to support 64-bit OS. Even though on the surface it looks like it's the same PowerBuilder we've known for years and the version number didn't change to something big, there's actually a lot of changes happening in PowerBuilder 12.6. So we did get Appeon compatible with that, and if you move to 12.6, you should upgrade to Appeon 2015. The other thing we added at a platform level is support for the merged SQL state. So no matter you're running a web app or a mobile app, your app can take advantage of the merged SQL statement. On the web side, what we added was multi-browser support. For years and years and years, we've been Internet Explorer only, and part of the reason for that was that when we started doing Appeon back in 1999, Internet Explorer was, had beamed out Netscape and basically was the default, OS. So that's why we focused on supporting that, and our plugin used ActiveX technology, which wasn't readily transferable to other browsers. But we have now created a plugin for Chrome and a plugin for Firefox, and you can take advantage of those other browsers. Also for the data window, we've created a calendar column type. So if you do have the calendar column, when you click on that, you'll be able to see a calendar, lets you pick the date. And we've expanded our web debugger to support 64-bit mode for the browser. So if Appeon has for years supported deploying your PowerBuilder app within a 64-bit browser instead of 32-bit. So you can take advantage of, more memory space and so on, maybe better performance even. And so what we've done now is actually made sure that the debugger also works for 64-bit, because you'd probably want to debug something that's not working in the 64-bit browser. So on the mobile side, we are also just added support for 64-bit mobile apps. This is something new that Apple has enabled for iOS, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Android has the ability to do this as well. So what we have is made sure that Appion's mobile deployment architecture is 64-bit compliant. You'll be able to take advantage of that. The other thing we have done is on the mobile side, we have created an HTML control that allows you to embed HTML content. And I'll explain to you a few examples later of why you'd want to do that. But there's some cool things that you might have from a third party, some content, and you can bring that into your native mobile app. And then, kind of like in PowerBuilder, you could put an OCS browser control, for example, inside of a PowerBuilder window. It's sort of to that degree, but you get some good integration. We also added near-field communication support, so you can read and write data via NFC protocol to NFC tags or exchange with NFC devices. And this is something that is actually, this technology is in both iOS devices and Android, but Apple has not exposed this to developers. They don't want developers leveraging the NFC functionality in the device. They're only using it internally for Apple Pay. Okay? So even though the Apple's a great device and has this great technology, Apple is not allowing us as developers to use that. So unfortunately, even though this technology is there, it's today only available for you to use on Android devices. And I'll be demoing this as well today, how you can do that. And we've expanded the SDK functions on the mobile device, so you can do additional things that are mobile-specific functionality, and that's now available to you on the mobile side. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate to you the multi-browser support, and in general, just you know what Appeon looks like on the web. So I'm going to open up PowerBuilder, and for those of you who've seen this demo, I apologize. I made this comment at Charlotte as well. This is the last year I'm going to show this app, and I'm going to retire it, put it out of its misery, and we're going to bring a new app for 2016. But one of the reasons I keep using this over the years is because it's just such a traditional, typical PowerBuilder app. And I'm going to go ahead and just briefly demo that for you guys, for those of you who haven't seen this. So, you know, you come in and you have a traditional menu that's multi-level. That's very common. You have toolbars with tooltips. And when we go ahead and open this up, we have an NVI interface. So this is very common way. I think 90+% of traditional PowerBuilder apps were built with this NVI metaphor. And we have data windows. What's not to love about a data window? So here we have a master detail data window. Again, a very common concept in PowerBuilder applications. The data window is really cool. You can, you know, resize columns and drag and drop and do all that good stuff that you can do with data windows. Okay. So here we have the wonderful edit mask, which prevents the users from making errors. So like when I'm typing in letters, it doesn't allow me to type. When I type in numbers, I get, you know, the customer ID typed in, calls the database, the customer doesn't exist, and then so it clears out the edit mask. I could try again, or I could just select from my customer list. Okay? And we can quickly add or remove items. And here we have drop-down data windows, and we can select item that's showing the SKU and a description of what that SKU is. Okay? And you know, one of our customers pointed out, Appeon can do something that PowerBuilder can't, which is you can dynamically create a drop-down data window by using the create command. And this works both on the web and mobile targets with Appeon. So if you see any need to dynamically create drop-down data windows, you can do that when you deploy to web or mobile. Okay? So now if I go ahead and close this application, we're going to get an error, obviously, and no, I don't want to save it. So what Appeon does is it adds this toolbar to PowerBuilder, and we'll be able to click deploy and select the application. Okay, and I'll do a full deploy so you see how long this takes. It's very quick. Appeon can deploy your app in pretty much the same time that it takes PowerBuilder to generate an exe or do a full build on your app. And what it's doing right now is generating all the files. They're going to be deployed to the Appeon server, which is really IS or a Java server. In my case, I'm using IS on Windows 8. And once those files are deployed, then we'll be able to open a browser. In this case, I'm using IE to show you the initial one, and then we'll look at cross-browser. So here's Internet Explorer, what we've done for years, and you have the same menu, but the icons are disabled, and that's something that on Appeon Web is an unsupported feature. So you don't actually need to change the code, it's just that functionality is omitted. And so we'll go ahead and open up the windows, and we have the same toolbars and tooltips and all that stuff. And you'll see the same level of performance and interactivity as PowerBuilder. There are rare cases, depending on how you wrote the code, where it could be a little slower, but in general, we're using C++ technology just like PowerBuilder, so it's quite fast. So you can do all the same, interactions on the user interface. And here we have, again, the same edit mask, and you saw how interactive it was. It actually contacted the server when I finished typing and immediately came back that this customer does not exist in the database and cleared it out. So we'll select the same customer, and we can add and remove items, and we have the same drop-down data window. So you can see that it's preserved the functionality, UI, everything for the users. They can just quickly go and start working on the web. Now, one thing, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, when I'm using other browsers, it drives me nuts sometimes when certain things don't render properly. I went to this website and the menu, I just couldn't get it to display properly on Safari. So you don't have to worry about that with Appeon. We take care of ensuring that the PowerBuilder user experience, functionality, and UI is going to be exactly the same, exactly to the T, no matter which browser you use. So we'll go ahead and log in, and in this case, I'm running Firefox. And you'll see you have the same exact multi-level menu and the same toolbar. It looks exactly the same. It's not just it works the same, it looks the same. And you have the same performance. There's no slowdown. And, we have the same master detail data window with the same, functionality. And we can do the drag and drop. Okay. And just really briefly go here. So we typed in customer ID, and we can add or remove items, the drop-down data window, and you get the idea. Now, I could go through, I have Opera here, I have Chrome here. We can go through every single browser. It works. If it's running on a Windows OS, hopefully there's not an XP that was end of life years ago. Yeah. Here's the my Opera. There's the app on Opera. Okay, and it's exactly the same. Okay, so that's the multi-browser functionality. And let's go on. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's been happening on the mobile side. So let me show you some of those things. I'm going to show you the embedding the HTML content, what that looks like, some things you can do. I'm going to show you near-field communication. As I mentioned, we've added some additional SDKs. One of the SDKs we added was the ability to do PayPal payments natively in iOS and Android. So that's there as well to enable mobile payments in case you need that in your application. And there's other good stuff. I'm not going to go through every single new feature. You can take a look in the new features guide that ships with every new release of Appeon, and it documents every small change in that release. So you can go ahead and take a look at that to get everything. But I'm just going to highlight, some of the big stuff. So what I'm going to do is share my iPhone screen with you. Should be coming up in just a minute. Let's try that again. There it is. Okay. So this is my iPhone. I'm still on a 5S. I'm waiting for the 6S. I'm going to skip the 6. I saw those phones bend, so I got a little scared. Anyway, what we have here is the latest iOS 8.3, and we have Appeon Mobile running here. And so with Appeon, you can deploy your applications, your mobile apps in two ways. One is within Appeon Workspace, which essentially is like a container or a folder, and multiple apps appear within this Appeon Workspace. So this could be, for example, all of your company's applications, all the business apps. The other way is you can make standalone apps that would just appear as individual app icons. And when you click that, there is no Appeon Workspace. It's just the app starts. Okay? So in this case, I'm using the Appeon Workspace. I'll go ahead and start this mobile app. So this is something we created completely new in PowerBuilder. It was not a legacy migration or anything like that. And we developed this in such a short time. I think it was one developer spending a week or two, not much. And it's just to show off some of these different APIs. So the first thing I'm going to show you is we have the ability here to type in your information and generate a QR code. So it'll generate a QR code containing this information, okay? And what I can do is then I can actually scan that. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a second mobile device, which is Android, actually. And I'm going to go to this device and actually click the scan button. And so it scanned that other device's screen that had the QR code. And the QR code could be on a screen, it could be printed on a piece of paper, it doesn't matter. So now what we have is we have a Joe Smith scan. When I click on that, you can see all of that information. If I want, I could actually call Joe simply by clicking the call button. And this is the iOS security. iOS will always make sure, do you know this app is trying to make a dial phone number? Do you agree, yes or no? If I say yes, it's actually going to try to call Joe. Okay? So there's a number of these kind of client-side integrations you can do, from sending emails, dialing phone numbers, and so on. Email, it'll automatically, when I click email, it's going to open up my email client, and then populate it with the email address. You can even pass in, some parameters and so on. Okay, so go back to the application. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to demonstrate is we're actually going to switch to an Android device right now. And let me go ahead and share that with my screen with you. Okay. So this is my Android device, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Appeon Mobile on Android. You can see it's the exact same application. And I'll go ahead and click on the My Contact Info. So there's Joe. This was the device I scanned, and it transferred Joe's info to my iPhone. But you'll notice on Android, there's also a second button besides the QR code. This is the NFC logo that allows you to, rather than create a QR code, I can actually write this information to an NFC tag, for example. And if I go into the reading contact info, I could actually, click the N and read an NFC tag. So what I have is, I have an NFC tag I already wrote to, and I'll read from it. I'll click the N. And so you can see it says behold the NFC device, and it just read the information from the tag. So it was not scanning a QR code, it was actually transferring the data through NFC. Okay. And we have that information now scanned in. Okay. So let me go ahead and go back to the iPhone. So my iPhone should be coming up in just a minute. And so we took a look at the QR code scanning. We looked at the NFC. The NFC is what's new. The QR code has been there for some time now. That was actually in Appeon Mobile 1.0, which we released back several years ago. And then, this is the Google Maps or Apple Apps Maps functionality, and that's something that's been there, and so that's not new. But we'll go take a look at the HTML embedding. So what I've done is I put an HTML embed inside of this PowerBuilder window that appears on the mobile app, and this is the Appeon website, is what it is. But it doesn't, it doesn't give you a full, typical browser. They don't see the browser. It just lets you embed content, But it's fully workable. If I click, obviously our site is not optimized for mobile device yet. We'll be having a new version coming out soon. But you see, like, everything works. Like when I click on things, it's just like it's in a browser. Now, you can use that to do a number of things. You could have HTML help that you load inside of your application instead of the user having to leave your application to get help. I had customers that had created an application that does training for new employees using the PowerBuilder app to train new employees and then administer a test to make sure they learned, what they were supposed to learn. And so what they did is they had a bunch of these flash videos for training, which then they embedded into their PowerBuilder application. And you're able to communicate with the HTML container using JavaScript. So with JavaScript APIs, you can pass data back and forth between this. So you can actually do something where, in the Flash, maybe the user, took a test within the Flash screen, and then the result of that test, the Flash would then pass back to your PowerBuilder application at the client side natively. Another example would be loading PDFs. So you could have all kinds of documents, and that's the beauty of this. It doesn't have to be a web page. You could point to any file, no matter the file is locally or the file is actually in the cloud on the web. And so it could be a PDF or any number of files. So here's a PDF document. It's the Appeon, brochure. Okay. And the last thing we'll take a look at is the mobile payment. So I'll go ahead and here's a data window, which is actually like a product catalog. And I'll add these two items to my shopping cart. It's $2, what a deal. And I click the pay button. And there is PayPal. Now, I'm not going to log in and transfer money to Appeon. I'm too poor. But so you can see, though, that this would work if I had actually logged in. Okay. So those are some of the exciting new features. You can really start to incorporate new things on the mobile side that you don't have in the traditional PowerBuilder application. Now, I want to share with you some customer success story that was very interesting. They're a software vendor, and they make software used by manufacturing sites, different companies that manufacture different physical goods. It could be manufacturing a bolt. It could be manufacturing a window. There's all sorts of different manufacturers. And so this software vendor makes a piece of software used within the manufacturing vendor to manage their operations, manage the orders, and so on. And so they've been using PowerBuilder for years, hundreds of deployments across the United States. And, on the machine floor, on the shop floor, they want to have the ability to take an iPad, iPhone, Android phone, and have access to some of that PowerBuilder functionality and data while they're anywhere within the plant. So with all that investment, all those data windows and so on in PowerBuilder, it just made sense to go with Appeon Mobile. So what they did is develop new iOS and Android apps in PowerBuilder. Both they created a tablet form factor, and for one of the apps that made sense to be on a phone, they made a phone form factor as well. And they were able to reuse 85% of the business logic of the PowerBuilder code, the embedded SQLs, and so on. If it was not related to the UI, it was pretty much copy and paste. And then they reused 100% of the data windows from that application that was related to that module or that functionality. And they did a UI change, obviously, because we wanted to have something really optimized, looking sexy, and being very user-friendly, since they're a software vendor. And so because we were able to use so much from PowerBuilder, and because PowerBuilder is such a productive tool, you can do it so quickly, we were able to pump out one mobile app each month. And they spent 4 months and built 4 new mobile apps completely in PowerBuilder that run on iOS and Android, and they're now in the process of rolling this out at the 400 manufacturing sites. So one developer, one PB developer, not a huge team, 1 month, pushing out apps. And here's some screenshots. I'm not going to demo this today. I have a TD Webcast coming up on September 8th. And if you'd like to register for that, please go to this URL, tinyurl.com/CSI Webcast. If you go to this URL, you'll be able to register. In the webcast that I'm going to do in September, it's not going to be just a demo. There's going to be a lot of good technical information. We're going to show you how we did certain techniques in this mobile app, such as making the screen slide over, or, for example, the search control that looks just like an iOS search box, and it has the same filtering functionality. There's a number of cool things that were done in this application, and we'll be sharing with you how to do that. So I really encourage you to attend this webcast if you're interested to build a mobile app that actually is similar to what you would normally see on iOS or Android device. So we have a release of Appeon plan for December of this year, and it's still based off of the Appeon 2015 code set. It's an R2, meaning that we're adding some additional new features, not just bug fixes. And but it's not such a major change that we want to make a major release change. So on the platform side, we're going to be supporting the open source database for SQL. So we already support MySQL today. We support that for actually a few years now. And we've now added support for this other open source database. Some people give me the feedback that this database is better at, CRUD type applications and transaction handling than MySQL. And so anyway, I'm not here to push one database over another, but it's something to consider. If you're doing a new project with PowerBuilder or are just fed up with the database you're on and are looking to migrate to something new, you can definitely go take a look at this. There's a lot of great feedback on this database, and Appeon now supports it. And we're enhancing our web services. We are seeing increasing demand for web services. In the past, we have supported SOAP services, but we'll be expanding that to take advantage of more complex usage scenarios instead of just simple data types. Now, on the website, we'll be adding a NAPI plugin replacement. So for years, we supported Internet Explorer, and then we started spending all this time to make Appeon run on other browsers, and we've been using what's called NAPI, the Netscape Application Programming Interface. It's a very old protocol, but it's standard. Everything uses that, from Silverlight, Flash, and so on. And so that's what we use to make Appeon run in Chrome and Firefox and so on. And by the time we released it, Appeon early, end of last year, early this year, and then in April we hear from Google that they're actually ending the NAPI support. So we've been very busy using another protocol that Google provides, and so that's going to be available in the R2 release. You'll be able to continue running your application in Chrome. Now, today you can still run in Chrome. It's just you're going to have to go do a configuration to re-enable the NAPI support. Okay. But in September, this NAPI support will be ended, and so actually this feature will be available in the R2 at the end of the year. But we're actually going to release this by itself ahead of time, just in a maintenance release or EDF, so that your applications don't stop working on Chrome. Now, on the mobile side, we'll be adding an ink picture control. And so you can do a number of things with ink picture control. I won't go through all the scenarios, but one that would be very cool on a mobile device is to capture signatures. And that's something you could do with the ink picture control. So you'll be seeing that on mobile side. Now, yeah, as I mentioned, that's going to be in December. And what I'd like to do is give you a sneak peek. We already have the ink picture control in our labs, and there's still work to be done to make it finalize and support all the different, properties, events, and functions of this control. But I'm going to go ahead and just give you a little sneak peek of this. So let me go ahead and share. I'm going to now show this to you on an iPad. Just switch it up a little bit. Get out of a phone and get on a tablet, because mobile is not only a phone. And let's see, there's Appeon Mobile. Okay. So I'll go ahead and open up the signature. So what we're looking at is essentially a purchase order that shows the order. And there's a line, and if I want to sign, I can sign on that. So I'll click the sign button. And then here, this area is basically the ink picture control, and I can sign anywhere in the white space. I guess to make it user-friendly, we should have had a line or something like that. But anyway, so I'm just using my finger. Okay, click OK, and it should appear, in there. And if I want, I can actually save as the PDF. So Appeon has been natively supporting PDF for years, both on web and mobile, without any additional plugins. We'll take your data windows and so on and print it to a PDF. So I'll just click Save As, and it's actually generating this on the mobile device. And so it's not going back to the server and doing it on a server side, which makes it really scalable. When you have server-side PDF generation, you generally have to queue it, like you would do a print job on a printer. But with Appeon, because we generate it on the client side, you don't need to worry about queuing it up where you have like 50, 100,000 users concurrently, doing a print job and then overwhelming your server. So now that that PDF has been created, I'll click the Open PDF button, and you can see the URL, the file path. That's a local PDF that was generated on my iOS device within this application's container. Okay, and you can see it's a test PDF. It's right at the top there. Okay, and if I scroll, there's the signature. Okay. So now I want to move on, and for those of you that didn't attend the annual conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm assuming you didn't, otherwise you wouldn't be dialing in today. So there was a very exciting announcement made about future PowerBuilder and about Appeon's involvement in that future. So the announcement was about SAP partnering with Appeon at the NCTBUG conference, and there was a gentleman by the name of Dirk Bossman from SAP headquarters in Germany. He's a senior VP who made the effort to leave, I don't know if it's SAP TechEd or Sapphire or one of the SAP conferences. He actually left that to attend our conference and to share with all of you this announcement and answer questions and concerns the audience had. Okay, so I'm briefly going to summarize the points that was made from a blog that was written on the SAP website about this event. You yourselves can go after the webcast and read all the details, but I'm just summarizing what was written from that blog to save you some time and just put everyone on the same page. So the SAP board has signed what's called an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, with Appeon about the type of partnership we're going to form. And as part of that partnership, we're looking where Appeon will be responsible for setting the PowerBuilder roadmap, delivering exciting new features, and doing sales and the support. So, for those of you that have worked with us in the past for the Appeon product, you'll know that we're a smaller company than SAP, but we're very, very responsive. We do tons of new features. The releases we put out are good quality. And and we're very responsive and quick to fix bugs. And of course, we'll be increasing that support quality to make sure we meet SAP standards, for example, 24/7 and so on. But in general, we're a very customer-driven, responsive company, and all we do is live and breathe PowerBuilder. So our policies and the way we operate is very focused on what's ideal and optimal for tools, and that may be also one of the reasons, probably, I'm guessing, of why this makes so much sense. So SAP will continue to own the IP of PowerBuilder. They'll be standing behind the product. So it's not like they're just letting this go and ignoring it. But basically, Appeon will be able to step in and really help SAP make PowerBuilder much more agile, and make it better fit, the needs of the PowerBuilder community. So the contract should be finalized in a few months. And at that point, we can actually then start to really do some work and get out a new version. So we'll be putting out a PowerBuilder roadmap for you after the contracts are finalized and after we've had a little bit of time to do some analysis and estimate. Because as you know, Appeon, when we put out a roadmap, we generally deliver. We don't promise the moon and not deliver. We're generally very consistent. So we take the roadmap very seriously. And so we do need a little bit of time to put that out. But we know all of you are eager to get a roadmap, and we'll be sharing with you with that as soon as possible. So if you'd like to read the details, there's tons of details in the blog about the announcement that was made at the Charlotte conference. Go ahead to tinyurl.com/SCNPB. SCN is the SAP Community Network PB PowerBuilder. Okay. So you just go to this URL, you'll be able to read all the details, and there was all this Q&A at the end of the announcement, and so you can see that Q&A has been documented there. So 2016 and beyond, I want to talk about the future. What does Appeon have in store? So there are some things we're considering. One is modernizing the UI. As I mentioned, we faithfully replicated the PowerBuilder UI because when we started Appeon in 1999, PowerBuilder UI didn't look so old. And so we thought, okay, we're going to exactly replicate that so that there's no learning curve or any user rejection. They don't feel like there's a change. You just get the benefit of web deployment. But this day and age, the PowerBuilder UI is quite dated. That's an area of constant feedback we get. So one thing we're considering is modernizing the UI, and we're considering using cascading style sheets, the CSS technology, to do that. As part of the UI modernization, it includes modernizing the graph data window. So we're looking at a technology such as CorePlot, which is very popular on iOS, but we are looking how to extend that beyond iOS. So it works in the web browser, it works on Android, it works across all platforms and OS that Appeon supports. The other area we're looking at building up on, modernizing and improving PowerBuilder and Appeon web and mobile is smart client deployment. So, one feedback we got from people is that, they don't like browser plugins. And sometimes the way the browser manages plugins is an issue. So one thing we're looking at is to do a smart client. If we do a smart client, you actually get the benefit of web deployment because you could have your database running in the cloud or over the internet. It doesn't have to be a LAN. And you would still have a Java or a .NET server in front of your database, giving you an end-tier architecture and the security of having an app server in front of your database. Okay. And it would be very easy to install the application to your device, no matter it's Windows or so on. And the application will automatically update anytime there's a new version of the PowerBuilder app deployed to the Appeon server. The Appeon server would then push it out to the user's machine when they try to run the application the next time. So this would deliver a lot of benefits of Appeon Web, but get out of the hassle of having to configure your browser or making sure it can allow you to run plugins. So we're looking at offering this as an additional option on top of the current, Appeon web browser deployment method, just to give people more choices. Okay. And we're also looking to do some developer productivity improvements. Today, we're very limited in how you use Appeon Mobile or Appeon Web within PowerBuilder. It's just a little toolbar, then you have icons. Once we're working with PowerBuilder and we have access to the source code, we'll be able to maybe do a lot of a deeper integration and really make your experience using PowerBuilder to develop web and mobile apps much better than it is today. So definitely look for that in the future. Another area we're considering is Mac OS X compatibility. So we pretty much have all the leading client OSs covered today except for Mac OS, right? You can run on Windows, you can run on iOS, you can run on Android. In fact, because of Windows, you can even run on, a tablet device, the Surface Pro. So what's really missing is just the Mac OS X. And so if that was supported, then we pretty much have everything covered. And so these are what we're sort of looking at. I'm just sharing with you our line of thinking, but this is not a roadmap per se, and it's not something that we've actually set exact dates and timeline on. And one of the reasons for that is we really want to take this time that there's all this new excitement, there's a future for PowerBuilder, and we want to really get you guys to give us your feedback first, and we don't want to be rash and make a roadmap that we feel good about. The roadmap should serve you guys. So please go ahead to this URL. I'm giving you another URL. I hope you guys are writing these down, at least this one. This is probably the most critical URL I'm giving you today. There is a survey. It's, I think, 13 or 15 questions. It's not super short, but it's not super long either. And it asks a lot of important questions, and there's a couple boxes for comments. And it's really important for us that you give us your feedback of how Appeon can really take what we do today, which is help modernize PowerBuilder and move it more forward and make PowerBuilder even better. What you're looking to get out of this combination of PowerBuilder and Appeon. Okay? And so give us that feedback, and also, after the contracts are finalized, then we'll be considering all of this and put out an official roadmap for you guys, so you know exactly where everything is going. What I was sharing with you was just a hint of some of the ideas we're toying with internally at Appeon. Okay? So really appreciate all you guys dialing in today and your interest in Appeon and for being loyal PowerBuilder developers. The future is very bright. We're very passionate about PowerBuilder, and you're going to see a lot of great things. So just hang in there a little longer. And to stay up to date and follow our company and the advancements on our product, please, you can join the Appeon developer group on LinkedIn. If you subscribe to groups on LinkedIn, just go ahead and subscribe to Appeon developers. You can just search for that and you'll see it. You can follow us on Twitter. Our ID is GoAppeon. And, please show us some love. If you like us, if you're passionate about TV and want us to continue modernizing and making PowerBuilder a better solution for you, please like us on Facebook. And you can just search for us under the name Appeon. So thank you very much for all of you joining today.